Hollywood makes some very different movies. And Andrew Klavan, author of the brand new book, The Final Hour, host of Klavan on Culture, and the author of the piece in City Journal, When Hollywood Hit Rock Bottom, joins us on the program to talk about this. Andrew, it is a real pleasure having you on the show, sir.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So you've got this piece at cityjournal.org, When Hollywood Hit Rock Bottom, and you say that after 9/11, the film industry, quote, covered itself in shame. What do you mean by that?
Well, there's just no question about it. Never before in the history of movies this is a very powerful propaganda medium, and never before were movies made that depicted our troops as rapists, as murderers, as invaders, as fools who were being manipulated by by evil Republicans in power, while our troops were in the field actually being shot at in our defense. Okay, the films that were made attacking the Vietnam War were made after the war was over, long after the war was over. I have no problem with leftists opposing the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Everybody's entitled to his opinion. But to make these powerful propaganda vehicles attacking our troops and depicting them in this horrible light while they're fighting for us was just a bad action.
Yeah, I mean, and you just lay out the list. I mean, Syriana and the Valley of Allah, Rendition, Redacted, Lions for Lambs, Green Zone, Body of Lies, Stop. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. Now, the one thing that you point out is that most of these films were failures. They flopped at the box office. America wasn't interested in going to see these movies.
That's right, and Variety was actually running articles. The trade publication Variety was actually running articles saying, "Gee, people aren't interested in going to see war films." Well, yeah, they weren't interested in going to see war films in which our troops, our sons, were being shown to be killers and madmen. But when they made one film, Taking Chance on HBO, which did not support the war but did show our military in a good light, that was a huge hit. And the bright lights in Hollywood couldn't figure out what it was that was making people stay home. But it just goes to show you, they do make money on these failures in foreign markets, but it just goes to show you that they're not operating strictly for money. They are operating under an anti-American ideology, many of them.
Has that changed, you think, Andrew, since the election of Barack Obama? Has it become, let's say, more acceptable among the progressives in Hollywood to say nice things about the military?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, they're planning this film about the killing of bin Laden, and, I'm looking forward to the scene in which Obama personally gets, dressed up as a ninja and rappels down a mountain in the Hindu Kush, But I think
while creating green jobs, by the way, all the way.
Green jobs with his other hand, that's right. But I think what is the failure that will remain, even so, the failure that will remain is the failure to depict our country as basically the spearhead for good and freedom in the world, which it is. I mean, that's just a fact. And to depict our enemies as the low and malicious and slavery mongers that they are. And I think that they're so politically correct, so afraid of seeming jingoistic or even patriotic that they still will not depict the issues as they are.
And it's interesting. I mean, we just saw the Republican debate tonight at the Reagan Library, and when I was out in California a couple of months ago, I had the opportunity to go to the Reagan Library, and there's a whole portion of the museum dedicated to Ronald Reagan's years as an actor in Hollywood. To go back and look at how Hollywood reacted to World War I. Now, obviously, the Roosevelt administration that was getting involved and putting out these pro-American films. I have the feeling, though, Andrew, that in Hollywood in the 1940s, even if Roosevelt hadn't gotten the federal government involved, you would have had that outpouring of patriotism from Hollywood stars that simply look. And I don't want to paint with a broad brush. You can find very patriotic actors, actresses, directors, producers, but by and large, I think Hollywood was a different place back then than it is today.
Well, look at it's absolutely true, and look at the people, guys like Jimmy Stewart, who left his highly lucrative career and became a heroic pilot in World War II. I mean, they made a movie called They Were Expendable, in which the actors with Robert, I can't remember his name offhand, but where the actors who were all big stars had their ranking in the Army listed in the titles of the movie. It was a much different place. Listen, Hollywood was founded by immigrants, largely Jewish immigrants, who loved this country and thought of themselves as serving and entertaining the people of this country with things that they wanted to see. That is totally different than the crowd who is in there now, who has completely replaced that founding group, who despise most of this country, who look at flyover country, as they call it, as a place full of morons who are dragging things down. You hear the things they say about the Tea Party. That's what a lot of people in Hollywood, not all of them as you say, but a lot of people in Hollywood think, and they're no longer serving those people. They're basically trying to teach them their greater wisdom, their greater left-wing wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's funny you talk about flyover country. Mila Kunis, the actress, who a couple of months ago said she got invited to the Marine Corps ball, and she said yes, and then she said, oh, I can't go because I'm going to be filming a movie, and then she said, oh, of course I'm going to go. She's got an interview out, and I think this is a British magazine called Stylist, and one of the things that she said, this is quote, she chided the younger generation for not reading books, the news, the paper, and then zoned in on quote-unquote middle America. So there's a quote. So obviously you're incredibly ill-informed to the point where they will go to do these tests in middle America, and they'll ask, okay, what party are you? And they'll say Republican. Why? And they can't even tell you. They have no idea what the Republican Party stands for. Why did I vote for Obama? I can tell you why I voted for him, what I agreed and disagreed with him on for hours. In other words, Mila Kunis is saying, I'm so much smarter than those non-coastal Americans out there.
This is an amazing delusion that not only exists in the entertainment industry, but also in the news industry. I know a lot of these people, and they're sophisticated. There's no question that the people in New York and L.A. are sophisticated, but that doesn't make them smart, and there's a big difference. They're sophisticated in the sense that they know where the good restaurants are, they know how to dress, they know how to talk as if they know what they're talking about, but they don't always know what they're talking about. Listen, Mila Kunis won my heart when she was asked whether she believed in casual relationships, and she said, no, they're like communism. They're good in theory, but they don't work in practice.
Right.
She should really have paid attention to herself before she started mouthing off about the rest of the country.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of get the idea, Andrew, that when Mila Kunis says something like that, she hasn't really thought about that. I mean, it's just she's parroting something, a phrase that she's heard before. And probably really doesn't understand this. And as you say, and I think this is an incredibly powerful paragraph in your piece in City Journal, you say, while wealthy, coddled, and arrogant movie world fat cats are easy targets for rebuke, and while everyone involved in this moral debacle deserves a thrashing, they are, as it were, only the bubbles at the surface of the boiling cauldron of America's intellectual dysfunction. The majority of artists are not deep or original thinkers. They are merely people gifted with the ability to give a local habitation and a name to the ideas that their intellectual guides and mentors find fashionable. The left is still ascendant in our academies and media. More than that, it is committed to strangling, through blacklists and unfounded charges of racism and bigotry, the intellectual diversity that might challenge their primacy. I think that paragraph, Andrew, sums up the fight that we have as middle Americans, as those bitter clingers, with our cultural masters who want to, try to dictate to us not just the clothes that we wear and the products that we buy, but the very ideals that we are supposed to hold dear in our hearts.
You're absolutely right, and I wrote a novel, a thriller novel once called Empire of Lies about the media, and really it is an empire of lies. It goes from the academy, the universities where these people are educated, to the media where they spread what they learn at the academies, to the entertainment and publishing industry where they popularize these ideas, and these ideas are all of them failed left-wing ideas. From the 60s, and before that, from the 30s, they've all crashed and burned in the real world, and these people have not caught up to that fact or grasped that fact, and yet they think they're a lot smarter than the rest of us. You only have to go back and think about communism when it first took over what became the Soviet Union. There were a lot of simple, straightforward Americans who were saying this is a bad, bad thing, and a lot of intellectuals who were saying this is the future, this is what everything is going to be like. Well, the simple, straightforward people were right, and the intellectuals were completely wrong. And they've never learned the humility they should have learned from that experience, because it's happening again now with Islamism and with the kind of spending we're doing and a lot of other issues that are affecting the country.
So let me ask you, Andrew, because you've got a new book out now, The Final Hour, and this is a young adult novel, right?
Right. It's a thriller for young adults, and it's about a kid, an ordinary kid who goes to sleep in his own bed one night, and he wakes up strapped to a chair, about to be murdered by Islamofascists, and it's about his his attempt to escape them and to find out how that happened. And I seriously believe it is the one and only young adult thriller series that deals honestly with the war on terror and with the threat of Islamofascism. I simply think that nobody else is willing to mention it.
How hard has this been for you to get this book out there? I mean, again, you're swimming against the current on this.
I am, and I have a reputation and a track record, and that helps. And the other thing I don't do is I don't hide away. Like a lot of these guys try to sneak their messages past, and God bless them. They've made some great movies and books. I mean, the movie 300 and the movie Dark Knight about Batman. Those were very positive films with positive messages, but they were buried away. They didn't speak openly. And so I think by just taking my lumps, and I have taken a lot of lumps for this financially, by just taking my lumps and speaking out loud, I've lost a lot of friends, and I've found a lot of new friends, and I think that's how I've managed to keep it going.
Well, listen, Andrew, I think you've made some new friends tonight here on the program. I hope that we can have you back on the show at some point in the future, and again, keep up the fantastic work, sir. We really appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Cam. It's great to be here.
Andrew Klavan joining us, author of the new book, The Final Hour. And, of course, you can find Klavan on Culture at Pajamas Media. Andrew's writing all over the Internet, including at City Journal, which you can find online at city-journal.org.